what's an obstacle? You got the film going and something's cropped up. Ben, what is something, and be as specific as you want to bring up something. How did you step in and fix it? Either like you're shooting, or maybe it's at the script stage, but so we can get examples and maybe have different examples. But what's something that you've run into?
Well, we could be here all night with the amount of stories and
Well,
but I'll just give you one.
Pick one or two good ones.
Well, the one that's probably the most prominent that I remember is we were on my short film, The Horseman, and we'd packed it into 8 consecutive days that were split across several different states. We were going from Ohio down to Tennessee and back, and that was just a crazy shoot. And we had this one day which was going to be our big day, and it was at a period village. We had this village down in Tennessee. We had scores of extras showing up in period costume.
Big money being spent.
Yeah, or a big day that you couldn't go back and reshoot, so you had to get all your day in. So yeah, it was a really big it was a really big ordeal, and the scene was built around one of the main actors on a horse. And he had to have an entire conversation with our lead actor on this horse. And it was probably 1.5 pages, 2 pages of dialogue with that setup, extras moving around in the background. And we got the actor on the horse. We had done some run-throughs. He went to go set up for the shot. And we were just getting ready to shoot. And the horse kicked him off. And he went down. Landed on his back, knocked the wind out of him. We had to bring in an EMT, take him off to the hospital, make sure he was okay, and thank God he was. But we lost our third billing actor in the most pivotal scene in the movie, and we had all these extras standing around. And we couldn't just we couldn't go home. So it was kind of a last-minute split decision, and Vitas was there, so he can comment on his role in helping to sort of create something out of nothing. Yeah. And really, it was we ended up grabbing we just grabbed an extra who had shown up, and we said, "You look really good. Throw on this costume." We looked at the script. We figured out how we could cut pretty much the entire scene out of the film and sort of do some rewriting that we would then dub in ADR and post. And we had lost kind of a significant chunk of our day dealing with all of the aftermath. So we had to condense that, get in there. We shot it. We were losing the light, so we decided let's all go handheld, to save on having to set up equipment and stuff. And we got it. We shot it. It worked. It hurt the film in the sense that part of the story wasn't told.
Yes.
But it was a workaround that worked, so you could still make your day, still tell your story, and move on.
And those who didn't know anything, they didn't go, what's going on here?
Yeah, no one who's viewed the film has any clue, has any idea that there was this whole scene there that was supposed to be pivotal to it. But those are those decisions you have to make on the fly, on the set, and if you don't, you're sunk. So
that's the key to independent, low-budget filmmaking. Is never stop shooting. Yeah. It's just if you don't have an element, fake it until you get it.
And also just be aware of your story too, and how to make that malleable. I mean, there's the saying, you make one movie when you write it, you make another one when you shoot it, and you make a third movie when you edit it. So you have to constantly be keeping in mind what your story is and how to adjust to those things that will inevitably change.
So, Bo, it's time for you for your tale of triumph. I hope it's triumph.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, number one, there's not a day goes by you're shooting where you don't have a problem. I have never been on a set where there hasn't been where everything went picture perfect and nothing happened. We were shooting HD and we had tapes that didn't show up. We had no tape stock to shoot on, and we're just there the first day with no tape. We're waiting for FedEx to show up at noon. So I mean, there's always something. But the biggest one, the hardest ones to overcome, are usually cast related, because I've had a director walk off the set, and you know what? We said, to hell with it. Pick up. I start directing, or somebody else jumps in and starts directing. We finish the day. But when you have a cast member that goes down, it's very difficult to work around that. I've had cast members that were flying in from Florida or New York, and they just didn't make their flight.
Ouch.
And so we're expecting them that day, and they're not there. And we call them, the assistant director calls them, and they're still in Florida. And we're expecting them on the set right then. So, I mean, it's, you know, those are kind of things that are difficult to work around. And you try to find ways, you know, you get with the director and the writers and you frantically start rewriting stuff. You find out what you can shoot in that location. You try to do as much as you possibly can. But really the biggest ones are cast related, I believe. And money. I mean, if you run out of money and you can't get certain things, that's a problem. But,
yeah,
you know, I mean, there's little things. There's egos. There's all kinds of stuff that happen on the set all day long that you just deal with as a producer and try to manage. But it's hard when you lose a cast member, or a cast member refuses to do a scene, or, you know, they change their mind, or they don't want to do this, or they have a breakdown because they fell in love with their co-star and then they can't work with them anymore because he doesn't like her. And, you know, I mean, there's those kinds of problems that you run into and you're just like, what are we going to do? She's not going to do the scene with him. So,
wow.
You know.
That's obstacles.
Those are the biggest ones where, you know,
do they throw more money at them, or do you?
No, you got to pull them aside. You say, listen, really, and you got to get. I mean, no offense to the actors in the room, but they're actors. You know, you got to stroke their ego a little bit and tell them how great they are every once in a while, so they feel better. Yeah. And then hopefully they'll get you through the day and give you the best performance that you can get. But you know, those are the big ones, and there have been some doozies.
All right, Phil, have you got a story of?
Well, yeah. Before I get to the tale of woe, Bo's absolutely right. Every day, all day, you're a problem solver and troubleshooter, and if you can't do those things, you shouldn't be a producer. You get very little sleep when you're shooting, and you have to always be in communication with people, because if your star doesn't make their flight, they're not going to land in the morning. You have to be able to get in touch with everyone as quickly as possible and say, okay, guess what? We're moving up next Thursday to today. So what we were going to shoot next Thursday, we're doing it today. Or we're doing tomorrow's shoot today. And being able to scramble and adjust and be malleable and adaptable on the fly. The biggest problems that I have had have been, I think, logistical in nature. There was a film that I was the line producer and am now co-producer on that shot here in town, and one person was tasked with finding locations, said it was no problem, then those locations went away, they had not secured a backup. We needed 2 locations for that day, and that morning I found both of them in 2 hours by just doing what producers do, or what you have to be able to do, is to go to someone and say, we really need your help, we really need a place to do X, Y, and Z. With a little set dressing, suddenly these 2 marble-lined rooms in an ancient building become dorm rooms in 1979. So, and you have to be creative. You have to think about, how can I take this pig's ear and turn it into a silk purse, right?
Yes.
Or sow's ear, whatever it is.
Sow's ear, silk purse. Yeah.
How can I do that? So that was one problem. The other one was a film where I was the assistant director and the UPM at the same time. Imagine how that works. And we were shooting at the penitentiary in Mansfield, and we had 100 and something people in full-on zombie makeup for a big overrun zombie Holocaust type scene. And we ran into the situation where a thunderstorm came in, we had condors in the air with lights and all these things, and thunder and lightning started, and it was not projected to stop. So it was a huge day. It was also a media day. Oh. So the media was there in droves. So the producer and I got together and very quickly decided that even though it would cost the production $3,000 to $5,000 to come back the next weekend to shoot the exteriors, that's the only thing we could do. Right. We couldn't lose that time. So we moved inside and shot all of the interiors instead. Right. And so that was huge. And that was when Mansfield got hit with the flood and everything, tornadoes and all this stuff happened. But we did what we had to do. We came back the next weekend, we shot it. We got all the extras came back and sat through hours of makeup again and did the whole thing again because they were excited about the movie. Okay. So part of that too is the winning of hearts and minds when you have bad news for everyone, is you've got to make them feel good about the fact that you're all in this together. You can get over this, you know. But I think we've all had problems with cast members, and that those problems range from the emotional problems to, the harshest experience in my career has been dealing with actors who are on drugs, things like that. So there's a dark side to it too, and you have to be able to deal with that as an adult and
Yes.
move on.